Can you actually get jacked legs with kettlebells? Can't unsee that. It's a fair question. After all, our legs typically require a lot of weight to get strong. And you can't load up nearly as much weight using kettlebells as you can with a barbell. So how can we still build muscly legs that are as strong as they are aesthetic while just using a couple of these things? That's what we will be covering in today's video as I share 5 of the best exercises to grow your legs using this tool. And if you stick around to the end of this video, I'll share with you the #1 mistake kettlebell users make when trying to build serious leg strength and size so you can avoid it and maximize your leg gains. With that said, let's check out our first exercise. This first exercise is a great intro to leg strength with the kettlebell. Reason being, well, it's built off of a fundamental exercise for leg strength, the squat. But I'm not talking about the goblet squat. I'm talking about the double kettlebell front squat. What's great about this variation is that most of us don't have just one super heavy kettlebell. However, many of us do have access to at least a couple of moderately heavy bells. And if we pick them both up in the front rack position here, now we have double the load, which will give our legs enough stimulus to make for a challenging squat variation. Especially when we take our tempo into consideration and do a 3 count on the descent and a 1 count up. Because that increased time under tension is going to allow us to get stronger than if we rushed through our reps and spent less time under tension with the exact same weight. Make sense? Cool. But what if you only have access to one moderately heavy kettlebell? Can you still get a good leg pump and put some lean mass on that ass? I mean, think about it. If we cut the weight in half, is there a way we could still provide our legs with enough stimulus to grow in strength and size? What if we just used one leg instead of 2? That is where the rear foot elevated split squat comes in. And this exercise is a beast for building strong legs. Not to mention, it's great for balance. However, if you just want to load up as much weight as possible to put some serious stimulus on your legs, you can easily use your other hand for balance, so you can just focus on moving the weight and eliminate balance from the equation. And you can even make adjustments to how you perform this exercise to tweak the emphasis of it. For example, if I let my knees go past my toes, this becomes a more quad dominant version of the rear foot elevated split squat. But if I keep my knee over my ankle, now there's more emphasis on glutes and hamstrings. Quick side note, if balance isn't an issue for you, you can also double up your kettlebells to add more weight. Just make sure you find your distance from the box or bench first and start from the bottom up. That way you're not jumping around with weight in your hands by taking top down setup approach, which is rough. Now with that said, these first 2 exercises are great. However, they do have a couple limitations. One of which is that both the kettlebell front squat and the rear foot elevated split squat are done moving straight up and down in the same plane of motion. But when doing anything athletic, there comes a time when we have to move side to side, which is why this third exercise is a staple for improving functional strength with your lower half. Because not only does it emphasize one leg at a time to maximize the stimulus we get from our kettlebell, but it also strengthens our legs when we're moving laterally. And for those of you who struggle with the tight inner thighs or groin strains, this exercise actually helped me overcome repeated groin strains from an old rock climbing injury, while adding some decent mass to my legs. That exercise is the Goblet Cossack squat, which puts a lot of emphasis on our adductors, also known as your inner thigh. And the key to this exercise is making sure that your stance is actually wide enough to get full range of motion. A super common mistake I see beginners make is keeping the feet too narrow, which you know has happened if your hip ends up in alignment with your foot before you reach full depth. Full depth being hip crease below your knee. On the contrary, you know you have this exercise dialed in when your hip is inside the instep of your foot once you've reached full depth. This exercise does require a lot of mobility though, so if you find yourself leaning too far forward with your chest, try elevating your heels with some small weight plates, a block of wood, or any other solid item that won't slide around. This will help you make the most of this challenging squat variation by allowing you to keep your torso more upright and to achieve full range of motion, all while loading one leg at a time. Now, no video on building gnarly leg strength with the kettlebell would be complete without lunges, but this next exercise isn't your standard lunge. This lunge variation gets us moving laterally and puts a ton of emphasis on your adductors and outer glutes, which makes this exercise the perfect addition to round out our leg strength and aesthetics for the lower half using the kettlebell. This exercise is the Goblet Curtsy lunge, which is a beast of a leg exercise that doesn't require much weight to get a great benefit, simply due to the awkward angle at which you are loading your lower half. The key to this exercise is where you place your back knee, which ideally lands just outside of your front foot. And if you want to make this exercise even more challenging, you can elevate your foot on a plate or short box to increase range of motion, which will make any leg exercise more challenging. But there is still one massive hole in our leg strength arsenal. Every one of the movements we have shared so far is either a squat or a lunge pattern. So what do we do if we really want to build strength in our hinge pattern and challenge our hamstrings? An RDL could work, but only if we have really heavy kettlebells. And single leg RDLs are great too, but if you don't have the balance dialed, it can be tough to load up enough weight to really stimulate your hamstrings. Which is why if you really want to build killer legs with a kettlebell and challenge your posterior chain, the kickstand RDL is a great option because it takes the balance out of the equation so you can load up with a heavy kettlebell or 2 and increase the demand on your lower half by pouring the vast majority of the weight onto your lead leg. My preferred setup is to simply place the ball of of your back foot in alignment with the heel of your lead leg. Then hinge while keeping your knees slightly unlocked and back flat to maximize hamstring engagement. Your backside will thank you. Now at this point you may have noticed a pattern with the last 4 kettlebell movements. All of them are unilateral in nature, meaning they load one leg at a time. We've even covered the importance of training your legs in multiple planes of motion to maximize functional strength. But I promised you at the beginning of this video that I would share the #1 mistake kettlebell practitioners make when trying to build strong, muscly legs with this tool. And I actually alluded to it in the beginning of this video. Remember this? This is the #1 mistake people make when trying to grow their legs. They rush the down phase of the movement. And fun fact, this eccentric phase where the muscle lengthens under load actually causes more damage to a muscle cell than the shortening phase and is a crucial part of increasing muscle mass. So if you really want to build robust legs with kettlebells, take your time on the down phase. And while you may have found this information useful, unfortunately this is all a huge waste of time if you don't have the prerequisite core strength to be able to stabilize these heavy loads from every angle while training your legs. So if you want to build a truly strong, stable core with the kettlebell that will allow you to move heavier weights in any exercise, click this video here for the only 3 kettlebell core exercises you'll ever need to build next level functional strength. And I'll see you on the next one.